Let's Sleep Together by Flapjack09. Read by Distracted by Books. Chapter 4. Cuddling Optimization.
Wake up. Wake up. Wake up.
With a grunt, Izuku forced his eyes open at the sound of the annoyingly high-pitched tone, along with a computerized voice shouting at him to wake up. Without even thinking, he reached over and slapped his palm to the head of May's alarm clock. He wasn't sure which button he pressed, but he was just happy he got it to stop. Just like before, Izuku opened his eyes to find himself in a room that wasn't his. Only this time, his memory caught up to him before he could properly freak out. Though that didn't stop him from growing flustered at the fact that he once again spent the night cuddling in May's bed. Honestly, he doubted he'd ever get used to that. "Good morning, 10 million!" May quite literally sprang out of bed. As a morning person himself, Izuku was still envious of how much energy she had at this hour. "Good morning, Hatsume. How did you sleep?" He felt the need to ask, especially since that was the whole reason this experiment took place. "Great! I feel just as amazing as yesterday!" She excitedly bobbled in place, looking ready to run a marathon. "I hope you're feeling the same too." Now that she mentioned it, he did notice a certain aura of relaxation draped over him. His muscles felt far less tense than usual. Considering the intense training he was subjected to on a daily basis, he felt it was just what he needed. "I actually do feel kind of good." "That means the experiment was a success!" May's excitement ramped up by several notches, and Izuku found himself grinning as well. 10 million, I'm officially promoting you from client to designated snuggle buddy." The use of the nickname fully snapped Izuku awake, and he once again moved to hide his burning red cheeks from May. Do you really need to call it that? Maybe not, but it's a more respectable title than designated bed warmer. Debatable. Either way, I hope you're ready because we're going to be doing this every night from now on. Izuku was, in fact, not. For that, just hearing May say it aloud caused his mind to go completely blank. Of course, May didn't pay that much mind, the accomplished smile remaining firmly planted on her face as she strolled out of her dorm. "Every night?" he quietly muttered to himself. While it seemed obvious in hindsight, somehow the thought had never occurred to him. Even so, the fact that he'd be snuggling with a cute girl every night for what would likely be the rest of his high school years was an odd pill to swallow. There was times like this that made him wonder how he got to this point in life. "Honestly, not a bad life," he eventually concluded. "Oh, one more thing." May suddenly poked her head back into the room. "When you turned off the alarm clock, did you press the snooze button or the self-destruct button?" "Wait, why would you install a self-destruct button onto your boom?" Despite the morning's rough start, May continued to flourish in her support work, her efficiency at an all-time high. With her increased level of focus, she was able to knock out project after project after project in rapid succession. If she was the hardest working student in her year before, that gap had only widened since she started sleeping with Izuku. She was on a roll, and absolutely nothing could stop her. Well, nothing except for her own thoughts, which was weird in May's opinion because her babies were usually the only things on her mind while at the support lab and in general. But as she worked, her mind couldn't help but drift back to her time in bed with Izuku, the closeness they shared last night, and how part of her couldn't wait to experience it again. "Come on, May, focus!" She frustratedly rubbed her temples, trying to get herself back into the inventing mindset. She didn't have to sleep for another 10 hours. What good would thinking about it do her now. Like one of her babies, it had already served its function. So there was no use in wasting any brain power that could be going toward her current unfinished projects. Unless Project Snuggle Bunny is unfinished. The moment the thought passed through her head, she immediately stopped what she was doing, the soldering iron in her hand freezing when it was only halfway done with its job. Naturally, this sudden shift didn't go unnoticed by her peers. Is something wrong? Mina spoke up. Yeah, I forgot to optimize, May shouted, feeling like an idiot. How could she have been so careless? Just because sleeping had improved her efficiency doesn't mean that was the end of it. What kind of self-respecting innovator would consider their project complete after just the first iteration? This was only the first step of her experiment. Optimize what? Asked Mina, having not heard May's internal monologue. Optimize my sleeping with 10 million, which I've been putting off for way too long. She hopped out of her seat and booked it out of the lab, refusing to elaborate to a confused Mina. Wait, who are you sleeping with? That night, Hatsume, I'm here for the words died in Izuku's mouth the moment he entered her room, as a major change immediately became apparent to him. Every scrap of rusty parts and half-finished inventions had been scrubbed from the floors, meaning he could actually walk around the room like normal. Granted, the room was fairly unremarkable without all the clutter, with May not being much of an interior decorator, but that was infinitely preferable to tripping and landing on a floor of sharp metal. Wow, Hatsume, you really cleaned up the place. I know, right? Her eyes drifted across the spotless room with a prideful smile gracing her lips. Now that I'm no longer using this room as a storage facility, I figured I might as well lower the safety risk by a few dozen points. May figured Izuku would be pleased by this information, but instead he gave her a concerned look. You used your bedroom as a storage room? Yeah, doesn't everybody? Izuku opened his mouth to interject, but then he stopped to think for a moment. Okay, true, but where did you store all the clutter? Just somewhere random. Katsuki was not in the best of moods as he made his way to his bedroom. Dunce face and shitty hair had kept him in the common room to play some stupid game, and now it was way past his 8 p.m. bedtime. He hoped no one else had the guts to try and bug him right now, or else they'd be in for a world of hurt. Right as he was about to throw open his door and collapse onto his bed, his hand froze before reaching the doorknob, noticing a yellow note taped to it. To whom it may concern, congratulations! Your room has been randomly selected as my newest storage space. As compensation, feel free to test out any of my babies to your heart's content. Thank you for your cooperation, Mei Hatsume. Katsuki could only blink in confusion at the note. Before he could question what the hell this meant, his door burst open, and he was crushed by a pile of scrap metal and half-finished gizmos. I'm gonna kill Mei Hatsume, he declared, shaking his fist in the air. Now, if only he bothered remembering who Mei Hatsume was. The next night, as Izuku once again made his way to Mei's room, he found his mind racked with curiosity, wondering what Mei had in store for him this time. He knew her well enough to know that last night was only the beginning of her optimization efforts, and he was both excited and a little nervous to see what she came up with next, which was why it was so shocking to open the door and be met with Mei wearing a pair of black athletic shorts and a white t-shirt that had the word tank top printed on it. I see you changed your wardrobe, Izuku commented, not entirely sure what to think. Thanks! Once again, Mei failed to notice the apprehension in his tone. I see why you wear this every night. It's so light. I'd wear this all the time if it weren't for those pesky school dress codes. Any particular reason you chose to replicate my wardrobe instead of wearing any other pajamas? He was flattered, don't get him wrong, but he wouldn't lie and say it wasn't a little weird. It was like looking into a very strange mirror. May, for her part, just stared at Izuku in astonishment, like he had just shattered her mind into a million pieces. There are other pajamas? Oh boy. Izuku secretly vowed to take May out to shop for some other pajamas, and maybe some for himself too. The next night. We might have to take a rain check on tonight, May told Izuku, who could immediately tell why upon opening the door. It would have been hard for him not to, considering the half-finished bed frame took up nearly half the room. Forget king size, this thing was probably large enough to fit his entire class, and May was building it for just the two of them. I didn't know we needed this much space for cuddling, Izuku commented. Oh, the extra space isn't for us. It's for all the stuffed animals I plan to add. Help spice up the atmosphere. May ran up to Izuku and shoved a tablet in his face. When it's finished, it's supposed to look like this. Izuku quickly understood what she meant by atmosphere. The bed she showed to him could only be described as the stuff dreams were made of, with the detailed, elegant pattern engraved into the headboard, the soft, translucent drapes that lined the canopy, a mattress so deep you could swim in it, enough pillows to build a fort fit for a king, and dozens of stuffed animals to surround the edges. Cool, right? May looked at him expectantly. Yeah, definitely. I know, but it's not done yet. And I already put my old bed into storage, so I guess I'm sleeping on the floor tonight. Izuku's disappointed reaction was not lost on May, considering she felt a similar way. What if we slept in my room tonight? He suggested. May's frown flipped into a smile almost instantaneously. Oh, yeah, that's a great idea. May would soon find herself eating those words when she actually entered Izuku's room and found out how he decorated it. Why are there so many All Mights? What? There's not that many, Izuku weakly refuted. Between posters, figures, books, and other accessories, I count 84 All Mights in this room. It's kind of creepy. It's not creepy, he pouted, his stance growing defensive. All Might's presence is supposed to be reassuring. You're supposed to feel safe when you see him. And 84 All Mights just means 84 times the safety, right? No, it has the opposite effect. May had no trouble shooting him down. I think I'll stick with the floor tonight. Can we still cuddle, even if it's on the floor? Izuku had already gotten used to his routine with May, and it didn't feel right to break it. Okay. End of chapter.